Hello everyone, let's have ourselves a chat. I'm John from Rusty Chains, and today our chat is about the newest report from Theodore Mackenzie at 80 Level, a small tech news website that has been covering some recent Starbreeze news. Most notably, they initially revealed a second wave of firings from the company in January, after there was a more widely known release wave in December. They published a new report this morning, February 17th. You'll find that report in the description of this video, and I highly recommend you read it as they go into more detail in some areas. Now, in the article, they discuss a variety of things going on at Starbreeze. Most notably, they talked about the supposedly impending closure of the Paris Starbreeze office, which would result in another 23 layoffs. This is estimated to be about 12% of the company's total staff. That percentage, however, is taken from before the total in January's layoffs, which was estimated to have been about 13 to 16%. That means, not even counting the December layoffs, the studio could have lost over a quarter of its devs in the last 2 months. There's no world where that's good, but that's just the start. The article then proceeds to share a message supposedly from the company's internal Slack chat. For those of you who don't know, Slack is basically a workplace version of Discord, with chats and channels and similar permissions and stuff, but for work stuff. In this first message, an employee from the French side goes into the many accomplishments of that team. They discuss how this is a team that's important to the technical backend of Starbreeze. This includes the following. They've reduced server costs by 5 times. 2 of the members were assigned as the only people to get Payday 2 onto Epic Online servers for Update 237. Of the 7 people in the Payday 3 strike team, 3 of its members were French. Now that's actually a pretty big deal to report because, to my knowledge, this is the first time we've had a public report of how many people were a part of that strike team. Now, in a major detail, this message alleges that the only reason the studio is still open is because Starbreeze CEO Mathieu is still working within the confines of the French labor laws, which require him to justify to a governing body why he wants to fire those studios. So basically, the only reason he hasn't closed the company in France yet is because he's still working on how to make that go over well with the government. Many people in the company apparently believe that the studio has the funds to operate without needing to fire these people, which is making it a trickier sell. A supposed reply from Matt is also included, which I believe because of how corporate it is. You can read it, but it's very clearly HR company protected language, talking a lot about how they conform with laws and union regulations, etc., etc. He also asks staff not to talk about it with each other in the main channels and to take it to the private or appropriate Slack channels. Now, he promised to be open with employees about all of this. According to this article, this resulted in a town hall-style company meeting where developers approached management with 7 pages of questions, almost all of which were either not sufficiently answered or just completely refused to be answered by Mats. One thing being extracted from the list is that the fired employees have not been offered severance packages. A key point brought up in this is 2 worries the developers have. One is that the French team is apparently integral to the update and DLC release process, and one developer even mentioned that the Stockholm studio struggles to get anything done with the French team on vacation, so they're not sure what they're going to do if they lose access to that studio completely. The other worry is that several people are concerned that Starbreeze as a whole will simply go out of business if Project Baxter fails. This is a concern I've echoed repeatedly on this channel, and we're going to talk more about that in a few minutes. Now, with the article out of the way, let me address this. I've used a lot of language like supposedly or would be in this video so far. That's because the article mentions they're not 100% certain on these things. They have their sources, but have not been able to successfully verify that they are a Starbreeze employee. They went ahead with it because it all seemed too detailed and legitimate and logical to be faked. As for my part, I've been a partnered Starbreeze streamer since December 2015, and a moderator since May 2016. I know a lot of people at this studio, so I asked around after reading the report. Most people asked me not to say things one way or the other, but I can tell you that the article's sentiment of a very quickly growing frustration with Starbreeze's management amongst the developers is accurate. Personally, I believe this article and its sources, but again, wait for any more official verifications. Maybe we'll get some more information in the Starbreeze year-end report, which releases tomorrow, or technically today, when this video goes up. Now, I'll be responding to the rest of this as though it were true for the remainder of the video. Let me start out by saying this, since the Paris team made a stir in the Payday community a few days ago when they joined many other French developers on strike. Everybody deserves fair treatment and compensation at work. Know your worth, and if you aren't getting it, fight for it, or do what you can to go where you will get it. That said, not even offering severance packages as you're ushering employees out the door in droves is just disgusting. The economy is terrible, and to not make any efforts to offer some form of safety blanket is just completely reprehensible. Shame on management for this alone before we even get into anything else. But this article paints a picture of Starbreeze management culture we've noticed and theorized about before. At the time of this video's recording, Payday 3 is not turned a profit, and it has been out for 17 months. That ain't good, Chief. It seems like management is getting scared and just kinda kicking the can down the road, looking to cut any corners they deem acceptable for a short-term payout to keep the lights on until they can ship Baxter. The problem is that this is resulting in situations like the PUBG crossover that's occupying so many devs. Those are people not working on Payday or Baxter, and those are people you can't afford to not have working on your actual projects. Payday is just finally starting to get good, but we know the investment has been reduced. Noli did a fantastic video a few months ago talking about how Baxter was already set up to fail, being developed from a position of weakness as the company was taking blow after blow. Things have only gotten worse for them since then, with now 3 waves of employee firings either having happened or potentially about to happen. How anybody can expect Baxter to be a successful AAA game developed under an increasingly small team is beyond me. If I was Wizards of the Coast, I would be keeping a very close eye on what is going on with Starbreeze right now. I'm worried about the Baxter team, given this look into Starbreeze management and how it appears to be treating their employees. My heart goes out to those affected by layoffs these past few months, but especially the French team, who are now seemingly having to come into work each day to stare down the barrel of a gun while management tries to close their office around them. I can't even begin to imagine what that's doing to their mental health or how stressed those people are. Starbreeze management should be mortified and guilty that they have failed their employees by releasing so many undercooked, poorly planned games in a row that the company has fallen to the point where they perceive this treatment as necessary. It's time to pay people what they're due and take a long look at how you're going to keep this company afloat. Making bigger and bigger games with less staff who have even less patience left for you isn't the way to go if you want to stick around.